Well, we just heard about Stations of the Cross, and earlier today, the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word held Stations of the Cross on the eve of the 5th anniversary of the death of EWTN foundress, Mother Angelica.
You were not ashamed to fall. To admit the cross was heavy.
The devotion took place on the EWTN campus and used words written by Mother Angelica for each of the 14 stations. Mother Angelica died on March 27, 2016. She was 92 years old. Joining us now is Michael Warsaw, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of EWTN Global Catholic Network. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. As we commemorate the 5th anniversary of her death, how does Mother Angelica's legacy continue?
Well, it's hard to believe that it's been 5 years, but, you know, I think Mother is really a presence, a continued presence through the work of EWTN, you know, the apostolate that she founded 40 years ago. EWTN continues to touch lives and continues to pursue really the mission that God gave to Mother Angelica all of those years ago. And I think particularly in this last year of the pandemic, when we've seen so much hardship and so much difficulty, we've seen EWTN be an incredible support to people around the world, to really be what Mother Angelica, I think, wanted it to be and hoped it would become. And I think her legacy, you know, part of her legacy is that understanding, that empathy that she always had with people who were suffering and in difficult circumstances. And I think she's been and continues to be a great example, particularly throughout this last year of the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. And Michael, how does Mother remain relevant today? In what ways?
Yeah, I think, you know, Mother Angelica always taught us, you know, among many things, but always taught us to live in the present moment and to always put our trust in God and to rely on divine providence. You know, and I think that's an important lesson for all of us to be reminded of every single day. As I said, particularly over this last year, to live in this present moment, to deal with the here and now, to not be looking back and not to be worried or anxious about tomorrow, but to place our faith in God and to trust in God. That was really Mother's message, was to trust in God and put all of your faith in Him and to rely on His providence. And that's an important lesson that I think is as relevant today as it was throughout all of her years on air, teaching that to people over the air.
Michael, I know that you're really close with her. Would you mind, could you share some of your favorite memories of her with us?
Absolutely. So Mother Angelica and I, during those last 10 years of her active time with EWTN, you know, really spent almost every day together, at least some portion of the day. And it was a real blessing for me to be able to take, in a way, her vision and things that she wanted to accomplish for the network and to be able to implement those. You know, and I remember about 30 days before she suffered her stroke in 2001, as was our habit, we'd often just get together and talk on Friday afternoons, not about necessarily the business of the network or something, but just to share stories and talk. And, you know, she said at that time, I really believe that God is calling me away from my work with EWTN and into the cloister again, to return to that life. And 30 days later, she suffered the stroke, and really that was kind of the end of her public time with EWTN. And yet she returned to her cloister to pray for the work of EWTN, to offer her sufferings for EWTN, and did that throughout the remainder of her life. And I believe she still does that today as an intercessor for the work of EWTN, doing her most powerful work today on behalf of the network. But I always think back to those wonderful opportunities that we had to spend time together one-on-one.
Michael, we don't have a lot of time left, but I'm wondering if you'd talk a little bit more about the mission and what's next for the network.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know, I think we continue that mission of proclaiming the truth, of advancing the truth as defined by the Church. And we live in an age and a day, particularly in the United States right now, where the truth is seemingly far from what we're experiencing and far from what we're hearing. So I think more than ever, the work of EWTN in this moment, in this time, is incredibly important. And to be able to be a connection for people to the church and to the faith. And so we continue to do what we've always done, and we continue to explore new opportunities, both here at home and around the world, to be able to take the mission of EWTN into more homes and to impact more people and more lives and more souls.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today and for what you do. Michael Warsaw, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of EWTN Global Catholic Network. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tracy.